Ratchet and Clank, first released for the PlayStation 2 in 2002 by Insomniac Games, is a three-dimensional jump-and-run action-adventure. I had my first contact with this game back in 2004, as that's when I got my first console ever, the PlayStation 2, which came with a few demos of various games, including Ratchet. I was aware the series existed, but I never paid too much attention to it, as I was occupied playing a different series of yet another Sony mascot at the time. So I decided to take a look at this game and bundle up my thoughts in a video. What's up, Jak and Daxter? Wait a second, let's fix that. What's up, Ratchet and Clank fans? Boomer here. We're going to check out the physical power release of this game for the PlayStation 3 and not the PS2 version. Besides some graphical issues I'll get to later, it's probably the most modern version of this game if we don't take the 2016 reimagining into consideration. A quick disclaimer, I'm also using a DualShock 4 controller as I'm not too big of a fan of the original PlayStation 3 controller. The HD collection of this game luckily allows for third-party controllers, unlike the Ratchet and Clank Future series, which allows me to use a DS4 controller in the first place. And now that we have all the technical stuff out of the way, let's talk about the game. Insomniac Games, who were previously known for the Spyro series, released the HD trilogy of the original 3 games, Ratchet and Clank 1, 2, and 3, as an anniversary special to celebrate 10 years of Ratchet and Clank in 2012. A company by the name Idle Minds, who are doing business as Deck 9 since 2017, were the ones who brought this game over to the PlayStation 3. But none of their previous work is really worth noting. The game starts on the planet Veldin, where Ratchet, the main protagonist of the franchise, is currently building or repairing a spaceship. Around the same time on the planet Qwark, a defect sentry bot is being produced. As it's about to be terminated, it escapes with a spacecraft, gets shot, and coincidentally crash lands on Veldin. Now your goal as Ratchet is to go to the crash site and find out what exactly landed just there. The music of Veldin is just timeless. I barely mention soundtrack in my videos, but this time around, it's just so outstanding. I have to. It just sets this certain vibe and it just straight up makes me have a great time. I mean, just give this a listen yourself. Ratchet is equipped with the Omni Range 8000, which you can swing around to break nearby crates and hit enemies. You can also crouch down and use it as a boomerang. Jumping and attacking mid-air makes him do a hyper strike, almost like the ground pound from Jak and Daxter. Crates contain bolts, which are the main currency in this game, but they can also have ammunition for your weapons, such as the bomb glove you're equipped with right from the start, as well as nanotech, which can restore your health after taking damage. After slaying a few enemies and exploring the area, you arrive at the crash site and pick up the defect sentry bot, which I will just call Clank from now on, although he officially doesn't have his name yet. Ratchet brings Clank back to his ship, where he then wakes up from his robo-coma and shows Ratchet an infobot of Chairman Drek, the main villain of this game, wanting to create new planets. But Drek doesn't just want to create them, he wants to take parts of already existing planets all around the galaxy to build his own, and then in the process of it, he's destroying the original planet. By his own doing, he polluted his home planet Orxon to the point where its atmosphere was no longer breathable and its environment was uninhabitable. Clank offers his help to fix Ratchet's ship if he in return takes him to Captain Qwark, who might be of help to prevent Drek's plan to destroy the solar system. Ratchet agrees, and this is where the adventure starts. When you first start the game, moving your analog stick to the left will pan the camera to the right, and moving your analog stick to the right will pan the camera to the left. I can easily see how this would freak someone out when they first play this game, and most modern games have those camera controls inverted to that very control scheme. By modern camera I mean analog stick to the left pans the camera to the left, and moving the analog stick to the right pans it to the right. God of War for PS4, The Last of Us, and many other console games behave this way, and I think it's a more intuitive way too. Luckily, Ratchet and Clank allows you to invert the camera controls. Another really nice touch is that you can customize the camera speed as well. Having options like these never hurts the game, and are definitely appreciated. Back to the story though. Both Ratchet and Clank crash land on planet Novalis, where they are now looking for a new ship. Escape pods are leaving the area as Drex minions terrorize the place in preparation to extract this part of the planet. They find a plumber who gives them an infobot in exchange of 500 bolts, so he too can buy himself a pod, and he leaves diving down a sewer pipe. That's where you get intel on planet Iridia, where two dudes crashed their ship, or at least that's what the cutscene tells you. If you continue to explore the area, you get rewarded by finding secret paths that will lead you to big golden bolts, or gold bolts for short. The rooms they're usually in are surrounded by currency bolts, which you can use to buy new weapons and ammunition at the Gadgetron vendor. Looking at him, you may notice he's one wide guy. This is actually one of the graphical issues I was talking about earlier. For some reason, the vendor is quite stretched when you play this game in 16:9. I've been told you can fix this by setting your PlayStation 3 to the 4:3 aspect ratio, where he will then appear properly. But I didn't want to play in 576p, so I just left it this way. Maybe it's a PAL exclusive issue, as I've seen other gameplay where the shopkeeper wasn't as wide. Anyway, reaching the end of Novalis, you acquire yet another infobot from the planet's chairman that shows Big Al's RoboShack, presented by Captain Qwark, located on Kerwin Metropolis. The planetary chairman also offers you his transport ship to travel there. Swap the syllables of Kerwin around and you will start to notice how cheeky Insomniac Games was when they were making this game. Arriving back at your ship, this is the first time you can open up the galactic map, where you can select each and every planet you have an infobot for, or the ones you've been to before. Let's go with Iridia first. There, you find Skidmeg Marks, who is the renowned professional hoverboard champion of Rilgar. He asks you to clear out all the sand sharks, and as a reward, you're getting one of his latest hoverboards, the Z3000, which allows you to partake in the Rilgar hoverboard races yourself. This mission is where the Pyrocitor weapon shows its strength. It is really easy to clear large amounts of enemies with it. I do need to talk about the movement here though, as it's about to change completely on the next planet. The controls in this game feel great overall, but it feels a bit slippery and undeveloped at times. You can especially see this whenever you're circling around to attack enemies with your weapons, which felt a bit weird to me. Ratchet does a too wide and too slow of a turn and doesn't turn around instantly. You can definitely tell the developers spend a lot of time to the feel of the movement, but this bit did feel a bit off for me. Anyhow, once you arrive on Kerwan and run to the left, there is a robot Captain Qwark, which Clank in fact confuses with the real one. The robot tells you to finish the obstacle course, and as a reward, you'll acquire the swing shot. After mastering the course, there's a lovely robot lady by the name Helga, who will sell you the swing shot for 2,000 bolts. You're supposed to get it for free, but I guess she doesn't like you. Next thing you know, you can now hook onto green swingshot targets and swinging off of them by using the yellow ones. On my way back from picking up a gold bolt, I noticed a swingshot target to hook onto. I went back to try to do so, just to notice it doesn't get you anywhere. Turns out it's a misplaced swingshot target that the developers just forgot to remove. So I just fell down and died. Following the other path to the right leads you to Al's RoboShack. He informs you that he has seen Qwark the last time they've shot the commercial, but that he can't help you out. Besides upgrading Clank with the helipack after a bit of nerd talk and 1,000 bolts. The helipack allows you to perform stretch jumps, long jumps, which are really useful for the speedrun of this game, and to glide whenever you're falling. You can move around a lot faster from this point on out, and it definitely changes the way you play the game. There will be another infobot at the end of a small train chase section that will give you the coordinates for Eudora. Something I love about this game is that you get rewarded for exploration and backtracking. Yes, I said it, backtracking. I think it's perfectly fine in this game. There's almost always a place on your galactic map which you haven't been to before, but now that you've acquired a new gadget, you can enter that new area. Although I always found it a bit too straightforward to where you couldn't go back to. Let's take Iridia for instance. Now equipped with the swing shot, you can now go back there and follow the path with the swing shot targets that you previously weren't able to clear. And as a reward, get the Trespasser to bypass security doors by playing a little minigame in which you have to connect lasers to their corresponding spots. And let me tell you, these seemingly small puzzles get harder and harder the further you progress in the game. Early on, they were quite easy, but in later levels, it took me a good 5 minutes to figure some of them out. Skid's agent, the second dude who crash landed on Iridia, is also not too far away from where you finish the swing shot and Trespasser section. He promises to make Ratchet the next skid mag marks if he happens to win the hoverboard race on Rilgar, as he thinks his former client died in the crash. So let's go off to Eudora and get the infobot. This is the first time where you can also use your wrench to turn some bolt cranks to reveal bridges and platforms to help you get around the level. You also find the suck cannon on this planet, which literally sucks small enough enemies into the gun and uses them as a projectile. This is where more of these graphical issues I mentioned come into play. The weapon's charge meter never fully goes away even after unequipping the weapon, and just kind of gets stuck on the right side of the screen on the PlayStation 3 version. I've been told this isn't an issue on the PS2. As you find Chairman Drek's lieutenant, he flees and drops an infobot about the Blark Tactical Station, or BTS for short. Arriving there, you can board a transport ship to a close-by warship where you have to press a big red shiny button, which turns out to be a self-destruct button. Luckily, there's a second transporter which you can use to get back to the station. And that's exactly where you get the infobot for Rilgar. There's an alien queen located on the Blark Tactical Station, which you're supposed to fight. But you can actually just run past the starting trigger of the fight and skip it all along. Obviously, I didn't do that, but I made use of the Pyrocitor, which is just really broken on the PAL version. For some reason, the Pyrocitor damages enemies with bigger health bars like the Alien Queen every frame. Since the game is running at 60 frames a second, well, that's just a lot of damage. The fight generally isn't too hard, so I don't think it really matters I did this. After fighting or skipping her, you find Fred, who sells you the grind boots for 2000 bolts. There's a grind rail back to your ship, which from there you can also send Clank out to space to explore the outside of the station. This is the first time in the game where you also get to play as Clank. You can also jump, punch, and even control some close-by gadget bots. You can make them follow, wait, attack, or enter teleporters. While the Clank gameplay definitely changes the pace of the game, I generally prefer moving around as Ratchet, as it's just a lot more faster and you don't feel so vulnerable. At the end of the Clank section, you get yet another gadget, the Hydro Displacer. It's a handheld gadget that drains and fills pools of water when attached to a plug point, therefore displacing it. You will definitely need that on planet Rilgar, so off we go. Turns out, the planet is infested with these so-called amoeboids. And let me tell you, I always loved these things. The enemies in this game were the ones I fought back in the day when I was playing the demo. Every enemy of their respective planet really suits the environment. The dirty and shady looking Blackwater city puts off the vibe that it's all about illegal hoverboard racing and gambling, though the game doesn't specifically state this. I especially like the fighting between the slime ball looking enemies and the native population with hazard suits on. I can tell Insomniac Games put a lot of thought and love into the game. Small details like this aren't much, but they all add up. There's a shady salesman following down one of the paths who will sell you the RYNO, or short Rhino, which stands for
Rip ya a new one.
What did you just say to me?
It's the most expensive weapon in the game for 150,000 bolts. At my time of arrival here, I only had 11,000. Whenever you do have enough bolts, you can come back here and acquire the strongest weapon in the game. At the end of the Rhino path, you'll find the hoverboard races, which you will have to win to progress. This race was kind of tough, to be honest. It took me a few tries to get first place. The moment you make a mistake, you can basically restart. Luckily, restarting the race is pretty fast. As a reward for winning the race, you get the Zoomerator, an add-on that uses quantum technology to convert Ratchet's performed tricks to boosts. This most definitely makes the races a lot easier and more fun too. And I wish they would have given you this gadget right from the start. 1:37:70 is my gold time, by the way. Feel free to beat it and make sure to send me a capture of your time over on Twitter at BoomerStreams. The sewers of Blackwater City also requires you to make use of the Hydro Displacer. As previously mentioned, it drains and fills water when attached to a plug point, and you have to break some gates to make it to the end of the sewers before your oxygen meter hits 0. At the end, you find an elevator to Captain Qwark's trailer, where you bribe the bouncer for 4,000 bolts to enter. Captain Qwark tells you he knows of Chairman Drek's plan to destroy the worlds, and wants you to team up with him to save those planets. He invites you to his secret training course on planet Umbris. Arriving at Qwark's headquarters and making it through the gauntlet, you fight the Blargian Snagglebeast, as Qwark reveals he's the new official spokesman for Drek's new planet, and that you were interfering with Drek's plan. Oh yeah, and the beast, it's supposed to kill you. There is not a whole lot to talk about on Umbris. I remember the first time I tried to pass this planet in my speedruns. Let me tell you, this was a run killer for me. Around every corner you can take damage, and if you're not careful, all the bombs, turrets, traps are definitely going to kill you real quick. The Blargian Snagglebeast isn't too hard of a fight. You just avoid his attacks and make him follow you on one of the bridges in the arena, which will then break and let the beast fall into the lava surrounding the place. Upon beating the boss, you acquire an info bot showing a commando asking for help on planet Battaglia. From there on out, Ratchet and Clank will have a bit of a fight going on, as it was Clank's fault they fell for Qwark's trap. Ratchet wants to make Qwark pay for what he did to them, but Clank is set on stopping Drek's evil plan. You meet the general from the infobot as soon as you land with your ship on Battaglia. He asks you to meet him at the city entrance and man the big anti-air turret to take down the ships attacking the planet. After fighting your way through the battlefield and arriving at said location, the commando drops you an infobot with intel on planet Orxon. There's also a rail transit system next to where you initially arrive with your ship. You're required to use the grind boots from Blarg Tactical Station here to pass it. Bombs are placed all around it. You can either wrench swing them to make them explode, or you can jump over them. At the end of the rails, you can buy an infobot off of a deserter who apparently got it from a dead robot. It shows the Blarg research outpost on Gaspar and a Blarg scientist while showcasing the pilot's helmet. The planet of Gaspar is almost entirely covered in volcanoes and lava. Going through the Blarg depot filled with cannonball tanks really makes it seem like a sneak mission for some reason. Except it's not. Firepower is probably your best bet on this planet, as there are a lot of strong enemies around you. You can really tell the scientists are working on weapons here that are fully designed for war. At its end, you require the pilot's helmet, which allows the person wearing it to pilot and navigate aircrafts only using their mind. The only planet left to go now is Orxon. When you first arrive here, you don't have the oxygen mask for Ratchet yet, so it's Clank's job to make his way around the Kogor refinery. And this means, you're right, a Clank level. I'm sure someone out there appreciates the change of pace, but to me it's just so slow and long and boring. It would have been perfectly fine if the level ends as you find the Magna Boots, but sadly there's a second part of the Clank section. Having fought your way through the refinery, you get an infobot, which at first he mysteriously hides from Ratchet. Really makes you wonder what was on that infobot, doesn't it? A few moments later on the ship, Clank hands over the Magna Boots and also the infobot about Jovai on Pokitaru. Some guy shows off the resort's attractions and promotes a free oxygen mask for any visitor to explore the warm waters of the planet. Ratchet is being really enthusiastic about the place, which is also the reason Clank hid it from him, so he doesn't lose track of their mission to stop Drek. They do end up going to Pokitaru. On arrival, the resort owner, which I will definitely keep calling the guy, offers you to help out with the O2 mask. If you escort him to a hangar at the other side of the resort to destroy some waste disposal tankers polluting the planet. On your way there, you fight some mutated native inhabitants of the planet, which became hostile when the Blarg started dumping toxic waste into the Pokitaru waters. Escorting missions aren't my favorite thing in the world, but you can make the part where the guy drives the boat quite easy by jumping on the windshield of it. The so-called puffoids won't be able to get you, and you can just pile them up and kill them with one of your weapons or with a quick wrench throw. Turns out, the hangar is locked by a special mechanism. The guy points to a nearby RoboShack, in which Bob recognizes Al's handiwork on the helipack. For 2,000 bolts, he offers to install the thruster pack into Clank, with which you can then perform a power slam to open the weird lock by the fighter garage. The thruster pack once again changes how you move within the game, and allows you to reach new areas you haven't been to before. The controller inputs for the thruster pack basically stay the same from the helipack. Even the moves sort of stay the same. You can now also double tap the crouch button and Ratchet will hover above the ground. While it takes longer for Ratchet to get up to speed like this, he does have the ability to strafe using L2 or R2, making firefights a lot easier, since Ratchet can have his weapons pointed at enemies even when moving backwards. Pretty neat. I found myself using the thruster pack most of the time after acquiring it, and so will you probably. You're now supposed to man the jet fighter that was sitting in the hangar to fight the Blarg waste disposal tankers, which always reminded me of caterpillars for some reason. After eliminating all of them, the guy gives you the oxygen mask. With it, you've cleared your way to play as Ratchet on Orxon. You can also enter the sewers of Jawai Resort, where you make use of the Hydro Displacer again. It has this Blackwater City vibe, especially with the Meeboids being there again. Reaching the end of the sewers, you meet Fred again, the scientist who you got the grind boots from on Blark Tactical Station. He tries to hypnotize you using some device, which ends up not working. After some chatter with him, he offers you to sell his gadget for Raritanium, so you can hypnotize the Gadgetron vendors and get a discount for your weapons. At this point, I thought it was a good time to do some backtracking and finish up a couple of missions on previous planets. You now have the Magna Boots for Battalia, which you can use to now enter the city and explore the outer walls. The plumber from Novellis waits for you at the end of the section, as he's looking for someone to mount the turret air defense. Shooting down the bombers attacking the place, you get the metal detector. It's a pretty useless item, to be honest. You have a small indicator at the bottom right of the screen telling you there are some bolts hidden in the ground. You can dig them up by using the detector, but I rarely did this, as there are just way better ways to grind bolts. You can also go back to Iridia and turn in the grand prize from the hoverboard races in Blackwater City. As a reward, he gives you the Sonic Summoner, which can be used to attract sand mice. Right above the agent is also a gold bolt, which you can pick up as well, since you now have the Magna Boots to acquire it. Let's go back to Orkson though, since you can now explore the area as Ratchet. The planet has a few undiscovered areas which Clank just couldn't get to. For instance, there's a nanotech dispenser, which you can buy extra health from for 4,000 and 30,000 bolts, giving you a maximum of 7 health. You can definitely tell the increase of difficulty up to this point. The game has been getting harder and harder as you play, so I really appreciate having a bit of extra health here. Exploring the rest of Orkson and slaying lots of enemies on your way there, Ratchet and Clank find an infobot showing off Drek wanting to blow up planet Hoven, as it's currently occupying Drek's new planet's orbit in space. The Blark created a machine perfectly suited for this, the Planet Buster. Now having the coordinates for the planet, our protagonist and his sidekick are making their way to Hoven. Coincidentally, you find a miner who was mining for Raritanium until his drill broke. Ratchet, being a pretty smart guy, he's able to fix the miner's drill. As a reward, he gives you a bit of Raritanium. One of the paths on the planet leads you to Edwina, who finds Clank just so cute, she offers to install the Hydro Pack for 2,000 bolts. And arriving at the top of the level, where the Blark are just about to bring the Planet Buster into place, you can enter a defense turret and destroy the carrier of the Planet Buster. There's an infobot hiding behind the air defense turret, and it reveals itself to Ratchet and Clank, showing Gemlik Moonbase, where Captain Qwark could be located at. To progress on this level, you either need the Devastator, which is a rocket launcher, or the Visigun, which is a remote-controlled rocket launcher. You need to break towers around the station to break force fields stopping you from entering protected areas. They're both really strong weapons, by the way, so they can definitely do more than just break some towers around Gemlik base. Arriving at the end, you then fight Captain Qwark, as he was ordered by Chairman Drek to stop Ratchet and Clank once and for all. The fight isn't too hard actually. You just fire at him in your jet fighter you previously stole, or at the rocket he shoots at you, and pick up a few health packs every now and then to replenish your armor, or however that's supposed to work. At the end of the fight, Qwark surrenders, and you acquire an infobot for Altanis. Oh yeah, and you get a new ship. As you arrive on Altanis, Clank gets hit by lightning, so he stays in the ship. This is the first time since Velden that you're playing as Ratchet, and by that I mean just Ratchet. No Clank, just Ratchet. And you have to remember, all the upgrades you previously got were all attached to Clank. It most definitely will make you realize how important of a companion he is, and that you need him for future missions to be successful. Going down one of the many paths on this planet, you find Sam, a scrap merchant and owner of a store, who lost most of his hearing after the bombing strikes on the planet. He sells you an infobot containing a commercial for a personal defense robot on planet Quartu, along with its coordinates. Another interesting gadget you find in the ruins of Altanis is the so-called Morpho Ray. It shoots a powerful ray that turns enemies into chickens. And yeah, you heard that right. Chickens. The Morpho Ray has infinite ammunition. Larger enemies take longer to transform compared to smaller ones, and the only boss that could be transformed is the Alien Queen on Blark Tactical Station. You also find Captain Qwark. Steve, who is now working his new job as he failed Chairman Drek. He offers you to buy the PDA, which stands for Personal Delivery Assistant, for 1,000 bolts. It functions as a portable vendor and allows Ratchet to purchase ammo for Gadgetron weapons remotely. It does come with one downside. All of the purchases are 10 times the price compared to the vendors around the planet. There are a lot of hidden swingshot targets on Altanis, which are quite tedious. Some of them are placed on moving platforms, making it really awkward to grabbing onto them. I really like the swing shot, to be honest. It feels great using it, but not so much on this planet. Arriving on Qwark, you can't access the facility at first. You are required to have a hologuise, which is a gadget that allows you to disguise yourself with a hologram to appear as a sentry bot. When exploring the level, you find an ultramech scientist who has been trying to destroy his size-changing machine. He agrees to use the ultramech technology on Clank and transform him into Mega Clank to fight the ultramech unlimited robots. Some of the later levels are quite laggy. The first time I really noticed lag was on Hoven, but there have been a few instances where I've seen the game slow down. This mission was a good example of that. It's supposed to be fun playing as Clank and mowing down these other giant robots with your totally not overpowered weapons, but the game's performance takes a bit away from that. Once eliminating all hostile robots, Clank returns back to normal size. The scientist thanks you by giving an infobot with coordinates to Calibo 3 and a commercial for the hologuise, which allows them to infiltrate the sentry bot factory. Exploring the planet further, you can get to the facility's cooling system and find the bolt grabber to increase the range you pick up bolts with. Leaving the planet and traveling to Calibo, the headquarters of Gadgetron, a cutscene shows Drek ordering his top assassins to eliminate Ratchet and Clank. Immediately upon arrival, you fight Drek's soldiers along with the planet's hostile robots. You find Wendell Lumos, the Gadgetron CEO, who offers you a free hologuise if you manage to beat his test bots in a hover race. This race isn't too hard, as you now have the Zoomerator and can perform tricks to turn him into boosts. But one thing that is different about this race is that you can also pick up rockets and shoot them at the bots during the race. On an alternate path, you meet the help desk girl, who has been the voice in your ear whenever listening to a tutorial. She gives you the map-o-matic, which can be used to find secret areas. On Calibo, for instance, there's a secret room full of chickens, and there's also a golden bolt hidden in there. Now equipped with the hologuise, you can now traverse through the inside of the sentry bot facility. This has a bit of tactical espionage to it, as the sentry bots are quite strong, making it a bad idea to trigger the alarm. At the end of the factory, you get to see the machine that Clank was produced from, so sort of Clank's mother. She gives you an infobot which shows Chairman Drek wanting to destroy Veldin with the deplanetizer. Ratchet obviously gets really upset as it's its home planet and now really wants to show Drek who he's been messing with. Ratchet and Clank kind of re-established a friendship, or at least a motivation to fight together again. They both then head towards Drek's fleet, which is currently in the Veldin orbit, to find the coordinates for the deplanetizer. When arriving at Drek's cabinet, the chairman has already gone off to Kazil Plateau on Veldin to activate the planetizer himself. They make their way down there and fight through a bunch of enemies that are aligned with Drek. Reaching the satellite dish, you face off Drek in his Ultra Supreme Executive Chairman Drek mech as Mega Clank. This fight doesn't last too long, as Drek uses a shrink ray that brings Clank back down to normal size. You now have to fight him on foot as Ratchet. This fight can be quite hard, especially when you're playing the game for the very first time. It does make for a good incentive though to do some more backtracking and get more of the weapons available at the Gadgetron vendor, or to buy some extra health on Orxon. One way to cheese this boss on the PAL version is to use the Pyrocitor again. It's crazy stupid on this boss and quite literally melts Drek's HP bar. As mentioned earlier, that it does damage every frame. After a pretty hefty fight with Drek, Ratchet flips around the deplanetizer, which by Drek gets slung towards his newly created planet. The deplanetizer then charges up and blows Drek and his new planet into pieces. Congratulations, you just beat the game and saved the galaxy from Drek's evil plan. After successfully fighting Drek, you can either perform a time warp right before you beat Drek to finish all missions on the individual planets, get all gold bolts and or skill points you've achieved throughout the game. Did we ever talk about skill points yet? I don't think we actually have. There are a total of 30 skill points within the game, which reward you for specific tasks. For instance, remember the Qwark robot at the start of Kerwan? Destroying him gives you the Qwark-tastic skill point. To collect the NE10 skill point on Eudora, you have to destroy 10 of the ships seen flying through the logging site. Skill points are used to unlock secrets in the goodies menu. Completing 15 points will unlock you the sketchbook, and completing all 30 will unlock the epilogue. The skill points didn't really give me any incentive to do them, as it unlocks a bunch of unimportant stuff, but I guess if you're into that, it's definitely something for you. The game has a high replay value, especially with the second option on the end screen after beating Drek, starting a new game in challenge mode, in which you keep all your weapons, gold bolts, goodies and nanotech upgrades, allowing you to blast through the game, picking up extra bolts, which you can then use later. The map-o-matic makes searching for golden bolts in the end game a lot easier, as it highlights hidden areas green on your map. Oh, and you can use those bolts to unlock upgraded versions of your weapons on either a Gemlik base or on Novalis in challenge mode. You definitely want to check out Novalis in New Game Plus, as it has all 10 golden weapons to upgrade to, compared to the 5 on Gemlik. The movement in this game is very fun. Casually, doing flips and stuff around the regular planet levels is really engaging and makes gameplay interesting all on its own. Compared to other games around this time, Ratchet and Clank definitely sets itself apart. The evolution of the movement system throughout the multiple Clank upgrades, like the Helipack and the Thruster Pack, changes your playstyle constantly, which helps to keep the game fresh. From a speedrunning perspective, there are some interesting intent optimizations the developers clearly wanted you to try, and some extremely broken, not so intended techniques to the movement system that are difficult but satisfying to master. Some of the golden bolts in the game are very creatively hidden. I'm not going to spoil which ones, but let's just say Orxon definitely has one, and the same goes for Gemlik Base. The effects and just the general look of this game is pretty amazing. All of the planets are very well themed and none of them feel lazy. They're all unique and well thought out. I mentioned it earlier, but you can definitely tell the developers put a lot of love into the game and plenty of effort was put into the attention to detail. So, would I recommend getting this game? Definitely yes. If you want to buy the game, you could go with the original for a PS2, but I thought for this kind of video, people would appreciate the quality of the PlayStation 3 version a lot more. At the time of making this video, you can get the HD collection for all 3 original Ratchet and Clank games on PSN for €24.99 or $19.99. And if you're interested in just the first game, you can get that for €9.99 or $14.99. Although I'd recommend picking up the PAL or European version of this game, just in case you want to try out the Parositor damage glitch. Thanks a lot for watching. If you made it this far into the video and haven't done already, please consider leaving a thumbs up, as videos like these take a lot of effort and time to make. And if you want to stay connected with me and the channel, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you're not missing out on any future videos. You can also follow me on Twitter or Twitch and join my community Discord. Links are in the description below. I'm hoping to see you there or in the next video. And until then, take care. Bye bye.